Welcome to the Brevard News Candidate Forum. Today's focus is upon the Titusville City Council race, Seat 3. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Joining us is Megan Moscoso, who is running for Seat 3. We did ask her opponent, Billy Speck, to join us. He declined. We left a seat for Billy just in case he wants to join us later on. We got some questions from Megan, and hopefully what we're trying to do is inform you, the voter, so that you'll have an understanding of who to vote for when you go to the polls on November the 5th. The city of Titusville, these races are very important races. As you've seen, who is governing you, the person that is governing you is really important, and you have an opportunity to be able to make a decision about it. Megan, welcome to Brevard News.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Now, you are a Floridian,
I am.
and you were born in Tallahassee?
Yes, I was born in Tallahassee, but raised in a small town right outside called Havana, Florida.
Havana.
Havana, yeah.
What was that like?
It was great. My parents still live there. Grew up on 10 acres, and so definitely a small town. We've got one red light, one flashing light. You know everybody in town. So it reminds me a little bit of Titusville, but Titusville feels like a big city compared to Havana.
Did you have a McDonald's? That was a question in our town in Oklahoma. We had a McDonald's and we thought we had the big time.
No, we didn't
You
even
didn't have
have. We
one.
don't even have a McDonald's.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what caused you now as you're sitting back and you decided you wanted to run for office? What was behind that? What motivated you to run for office?
Yeah, absolutely. I love sharing this story. I think that typically something has to happen for you really to get involved and to have a passion behind why you want to get involved. And so for me, a few years ago, we had kind of an issue in our neighborhood. And our neighbors, we gathered and we went to City Hall. And we actually just spoke before council and we asked for some help and we asked for some information. And we were really just shut down. And I thought, this is not how government should work. Our officials, they're elected by the people, but there was no concern, there was no follow up. It was, you got your 3 minutes, you sit down, and that was it. And that was really disheartening to see. And so I started attending these meetings, and I realized it wasn't personal to our group. This is how they treated everyone. And I met the people for the right to clean water, and different groups kept coming up. And so there was an opening on their Planning and Zoning Commission, and I thought, you know, I'm going to apply for it, and maybe I'll get some answers. And so I applied, and I got appointed to the board. And so I've sat on the board for over a year, and I've just seen really a front row seat of how things work in Titusville, and I think we need some changes. And so when our vice mayor went to run for mayor, his seat was open, and I thought, well, this is an opportunity because I love serving on a board, and you definitely get to help people, but the decision making really comes from our city council. And so it was a chance for me to run without running against an incumbent, and I thought, this is a great opportunity, and I'm just going to go for it. And that's kind of how I ended up running for city council.
So what's the number one shocker as you have seen what happens behind the scenes? What shocked you the most that you didn't expect? And just for seeing behind the scenes as to how Titusville runs.
Absolutely. I think one thing I noticed is you start to see the same people come up time and time again. And for, let's say, we oversee a lot of the development. So you see the same developer, you see the same lobbyists, you see the same engineers. And oftentimes, whether the project is good for Titusville or not, there really isn't a lot of pushback. So there's been many times, I serve on the P&Z, there's 7 of us, and we have a great board. I feel like we ask great questions. Those guys really care about the citizens, but there have been times we voted, no, we don't approve this development. It gets up to city council, and it gets pushed through without any conversation. And so for me, that's been really shocking that I really wish our city council would come to our meetings or at least view them online to hear the robust discussions we're having, but I don't feel like that's even part of it. So there seems to be a bit of, oh, I know you, but not like maybe a bit of favoritism or familiarity with certain developers and people that come up. And
So has that been a consistent?
I have, yeah. You get to know the players, and you see what projects there. And some of the projects are good, and so there are some projects that are good that we want to move forward in the city. But there are some that you see the staff, even how they present it, is in a way that will benefit the developer, and it's not giving us all of the information I think we need. So what I've loved is I love to research. I get to research who owns the property, how much do they sell it for, and kind of everything to give you a whole picture. And so I really enjoyed that part. And then asking staff, hey, you left this out. Can you explain this a little bit more? That has been a bit surprising as well.
What would you say are the top 5 problems that you see facing Titusville?
Absolutely. So I can tell you what I think, but I'll tell you what, as I've knocked on a lot of doors, this is what I hear consistently. Um, people are There's a lot of overdevelopment, and people are quite concerned. I actually wrote down the vision for Titusville. Um, it's a diverse community of hometown neighborhoods built among natural treasures, fostering civic pride, family activities, and community service. Um, that vision is going to have to change if we keep at the rate that we are with building. It's going to be a concrete jungle. And a lot of people don't like when you say that. I'm not against all types of growth, but there are some projects that come before us that aren't beneficial to the people of Titusville, or maybe they need some tweaks. And so that's a big one.
So a lot of, just to hold that point there, so a lot of the growth, really, you're not against growth, but the growth has to fit into, a lot of the times they're asking for a change in zoning, right,
Absolutely.
in order to make this fit into communities where the communities don't want it and it doesn't fit in the community. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, there's a project that's coming up this week, and people had said, we bought this property because behind the house is conservation. There's actually bald eagle's nest. There's gopher tortoises. We bought this property because it's conservation. Yet it's coming up before us for a zoning change for high density on Wednesday, and so that's when people are saying, "Listen, this is not when I purchased my house. This is not what I expected." And so I encourage people, get your neighbors together, send an email, let people know, show up, let them know what you think. Because if you're not showing up, the boards, the commission, the city council, they think, well, the neighbors are okay with this. And so that's one. I think water quality is a huge one. The right to clean water is kind of the second big thing in the city. 82% of voters voted for the right to clean water. And I love that that issue has brought both sides together. We've got everyone working.
It shouldn't be a political issue, right?
It shouldn't. Yeah, it absolutely shouldn't. Infrastructure, of course, is a big one. The city is doing a lot of infrastructure projects, but with the amount that we are growing, we're always going to be playing catch up. And so you're seeing over in Sarasota, they're having huge issues with flooding. You see in Tampa the same thing, and I'm concerned that if we continue at the rate that we are, we're going to have that problem here. Another issue I would say is community engagement, and that's kind of why I got involved. You do see the same people involved, and I think it's great, but we need to come up with creative ways to reach more people in our community. It's not about the people going to City Hall. We need to have pop-up events. We need to have people, our officials should be out in the community talking with people, and yet it's really difficult to even get an email answered.
So a lot of the people would say that the leaders would say that the people are just apathetic. They don't care. Have you found that to be the case?
No, I think that people they want to be engaged, and a lot of times you just have to show them how to be engaged. Or, people are working for 50 hours, 60 hours a week, and to expect them to come to a meeting, some of the meetings are held at 12 o'clock on a Thursday. There was just a meeting about Joinerville at 12 o'clock on a Thursday. Not many people can attend those meetings. And so I think it's the government's responsibility to go out into the community and talk with people and figure out what they want. And obviously, as citizens, it's our job to be actively involved. But I think people want to be involved. They just sometimes don't know how, or it's not easy. If you go on the city's website, it is not easy to navigate. I even find when I'm researching, it's really difficult for me even to find maybe certain ordinances or codes that I'm looking up for. It takes, and I do this regularly. So
The city of Titusville just recommended again for however many times as it has been in a row to increase taxes. So regarding this, what would be your answer as to how to deal with some of the problems as far as that's causing the calling for the need to increase taxes? Would you lower limit the government? How would you deal with this, and why are they increasing taxes on a consistent basis?
Absolutely. So the excuse they're giving, and the reason is because of inflation, and that's true. Things are going up. But when I look at my own budget, there's always things I can cut. I might not want to, but we could cut Netflix. We could cut
Right.
eating out, and they're not things that I want to cut, but we can. And I think I was at the budget hearing, and what I saw, I think the people just want our council to say, I've looked at the budget. These are some items I think that we could remove, or what is this? And
But
so,
that's never advanced, though. I mean, I don't really recall them saying anything about cutting anything, right?
no, it's, well, we have to if we want to continue the path that we're on. But in December of 2023, and I brought this with me, this is our water supply work plan for the city of Titusville. There was an item, and it was $45,000 for, it was called annually for Customer Education Water Conservation Program. And I asked 3 times, what is that? So the first meeting, what is this 45,000? We don't know. Next meeting, what's the 45,000? We don't know. And I said, I'm going to ask the next meeting. I could have sent an email, but I thought it was important that everyone got to hear. And I was told, actually, it's $100,000, and it's for to buy like dog bags, and to encourage people to pick up after their dogs. And those are things that I would love to see our city council say, hey, what is this? Is
Correct.
this necessary? Can we cut that down? I mean, $100,000, that's 2 employees. And that's just for education. I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not even sure. And they couldn't really give me a really straight answer of this is what it is. And maybe they have a better answer now, but those are things I'd love to see our city council say, what is this?
So
Can we cut it?
is the city council, or they just what's going on? Because you have a lot of 5-0, the city manager and staff come, they bring something to the table, and it seems like on a consistent basis, it's just rubber stamped. There's not really any thoughtful discussion going on about it or questioning about it. Is that what you see, or
Yeah, I think
is that accurate?
we've had people who've been on the council for 8 years. And so I think it's time that we have new people that will look at things with fresh eyes and go through things. I think they're just so used to, at this point, the staff feeding them information. And that's the easy thing to do. I mean, this week we got a agenda from the staff for the Planning and Zoning Commission, 821 pages. I mean, it's a lot. I've already spent probably 5 hours going just through a portion, and it would be easy just to skim through. Um,
Does it have to be that way? I mean, do you have to have 521 pages? Why is it that big?
yeah,
It sounds like Congress. We have to pass it to know what's in it.
I agree. I
I mean,
mean,
it's
we've had meetings canceled, and then when we get the next agenda, it's just packed full. And part of me wonders, is that so that we won't have time to really dig in into research, because it really is, there's so much information in there, and you want to do your due diligence, do a good job, but it's really hard when you get that much information in such a short period of time. And that happens to our city council as well. They're getting 1,500-page packets. There's no way that they can actually go through everything thoroughly, in my opinion, in a short amount of time.
consent agenda. A lot of things are being passed on consent agenda. Many believe that there are really important things, a lot of money that is being tied to things that are not being openly talked about in meetings because they're placed on consent agenda and just passed through, and the public is so unaware of what they're spending money on. For example, no matter what you think about it, recently a consent agenda item with the $50,000 being given to the Police Hall of Fame. No one's talked about that. There's no open talk about this. What do you think about consent agenda, and is that a way of conducting business for the city?
I mean, I think that there's a reason behind it, but I do think I've never seen our city council say, I want to pull this off. We really need to discuss this. A lot of times the consent agenda, you don't see the prices. so you don't know how much it's for. And then in the agenda, there's really not a lot of information. It'll just say the item, and there'll be no backup material. For me, that raises red flags of what do you not want me to see. And so, I mean, it serves a purpose for the things that are consistently, basic things. But I think our city council needs to be proactive and say, no, these are important, because you see 9 things get passed without any discussion. And for me, that's quite concerning, because that could be $1 million that we're passing. We're not looking into in depth.
So a lot of those are high dollar items, and people are so unaware of this. I mean, is consent agenda placed in place in order to be able to railroad things around the people, or is this just an accident? Or what's your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, I believe there are some legit things that should be on the consent agenda, but then I do think they can throw in so much without really educating the public on it, or even presenting the materials and get that passed quickly, because they know that nobody's going to speak on it, or there's only a handful of people that are actually reading the consent agenda items.
What separates you from Billy?
Um, yeah, absolutely. I love this question. I think I am supported by the people in the community, and I absolutely love that. The people that have supported my campaign, I am just so thankful and so proud. I've got, I don't take, and I've said this from the very beginning, is I don't take money from developers, from PACs, from special interest group, and so, I've raised $10,000, which I think for me is amazing. And that's been from friends and family and just people I've knocked on their door, and they've said, we believe in and what you're doing. So I think that's one thing. Another thing is, I think I have experience from sitting on the Planning and Zoning Commission. My background is I was an educator. I went to school and get my master's in nonprofit management. So I've worked in nonprofits. We worked to prevent homelessness by providing jobs. So I've got that experience. And then being on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I don't think anything prepares you better than getting those agenda. You get the same agenda that the city council gets, minus the consent agenda. And so I love to research. And so I think that has really set me apart. And I honestly don't understand how you can even run without having some of that background, to be honest. And so I think those are 2 things that would really separate me. And also, I'm a mom. I've got 2 kids. My husband is a local pastor here in the area. I think we really understand what it's like to struggle as well, and to be in this community. And yeah, I mean, we're not wealthy. My husband's a pastor, but to know what it's like to live month to month. And the other day I was knocking on doors, and this lady, she's in her 70s, she answered the door in her bathing suit. I said, "Oh, you must have been swimming," And she said, "No, I can't afford to keep the air on." And that isn't the first person. I came across a lady yesterday. And so when our city council is raising our taxes and they're saying it's only $25 a month for this and $20 a month for this, there are people on fixed incomes that aren't even using the air in their homes. It's 100 degrees outside. And those are the people I want to represent. I think it's so important, and their voices often aren't heard. And so I'm thrilled to run and to meet those people, and just to be able to kind of share their story and say, no, like when you raise taxes, you're raising this tax for this person who doesn't even turn the air on.
So what is the role of government? Do you think it's been lost? It's just almost like a lot of the people that are in office, they seem to have lost touch with the people. I mean, is that what you see and have seen since you've been out?
Absolutely. I think, the Constitution is so important. It's put in place so that, we're a democracy. And so we're supposed to keep our local officials and our government accountable. And we've kind of lost that. I think people, not only in Titusville, but in our county commission, people are afraid to even exercise free speech because they've been shut down so much. And so I think our elected officials have forgotten that they are elected by the people, and their job is to listen and to represent the people.
So bringing us on the piggybacking off of that, the right to clean water. What would you do in that situation? And why do you think that the city council has not approved that measure or ratified that measure? And they've come up with a lot of reasons. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think, I'm one of the three candidates that signed the oath to the right to clean water, meaning that on day one, if we're elected, we will make a motion to put it in our charter. And so I'm very proud to do that. I think no matter what, 82% of our voters voted for it. So no matter what it is, whether I agree or not, we have to respect the voters. And so that's kind of where I stand on that. They even went before the council and got the correct wording. So the council's kind of backtracking on that. I honestly think it has to do with kind of special interests knowing if this gets passed, it's going to make it harder. They're going to be I don't know if it's specifically the city of Titusville, but I know that I've had people connected to developers and council members speak to me and try to educate me on the right to clean water and say, but you don't understand it. But I'm never really given a good reason why. And so when I see someone come to me and say, you don't understand it, have you seen this project and this project? It just makes it seem that it's all really connected. There's a reason why they don't want it to pass.
So that's that's easy to say. This is beyond you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the city is concerned, they decided again this week that they proposed a communications or information person. Seems like to me, I would call it maybe a propaganda person. And that's, to educate the people about the right to clean water and things that they think that the people are really stupid about. Is that how you see it or no?
Yeah, I mean, I wish the city has the tools. I wish they use the tools they have now to educate the people, like broadcasting all of our meetings. I think that's a great way to educate people by using, one of the part of our strategic plan is to have two-way communication. And you go on our city website, you can't even find the email addresses for our city council members. You send a general email. And so that's quite concerning as well. So I think, as a council member, you represent the city. You are the one who's supposed to be out in the community. And if you're not up for the job, then I don't think you should have it. I understand, like, the city. I think the city does. I wish they would do a better job of saying these are the projects and infrastructure we're doing, because they are doing things, and I don't want to discredit what they're doing. Do I think we need to hire a PR person to do that? Absolutely not.
The first responders, police, fire, and paramedics, do you believe that the city is adequately covered in those areas in order to be able to perform with the amount of people we have in Titusville?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think with the growth, they need to look at the rate that we're growing, and everyone thinks we're growing at this huge rate, but really it's like 150 people a year. It's really not this big. Boom. I'm actually meeting with the chief of police this week, and just to ask him, like, what are the needs, and how can I be of service if I get elected? And so I think we always need to support our first responders any way that we can. My daughter's in a class at school, and two of her best friends, their dad's a police officer and a firefighter, and I've talked to both of them, and they've had to get second jobs because it's just so expensive and to live. And I mean, my family, we feel it as well. So I think whatever we can do to support our our firefighters, our police officers, we have to do it.
So, in summation, look at the camera and tell the viewers, why do you think you would be a better candidate to win this office than your opponent?
Yeah, so I think I would be a better candidate because I'm passionate about this. I'm passionate because of, my experience of really not being heard. I never want anyone to come up to city council and to feel shut down. And I see it time and time again. I think I've proven myself serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission. If a project isn't good for the residents, if it's not good for the environment, I vote no. And the guys I serve on the board with will tell you that I'm not afraid to be the outlier. And so my desire truly is to just represent the people. And I think that sets me apart. I'm out in the community. I'm talking with people. I'm already actively fighting for people. So.
Okay, and that sums it up for our focus on this C3 City Council race. Again, we had asked Billy Speck to come on, and he declined. We hope that you, the viewer, picked up a lot of information about Megan and it would give you a lot more information about how you should vote on November the 5th. Thank you for joining us, and you have a wonderful week.